So some 2020 Democrats last night supporting free college or canceling student loan debt altogether. The Dallas Morning News out with an op-ed titled "Free College is a Gift to the Privileged Paid for by Ordinary Taxpayers," saying, quote, "Making college free would mean forcing ordinary taxpayers, even those without degrees, to shoulder the cost of what is essentially an expensive and inefficient job pre-certification program. There is no compelling public interest being served here." Doug Holtz-Eakin, he's a former director of the Congressional Budget Office and now president of the American Action Forum, joining us from the beautiful state of Colorado. Doug, you have written about this. Tell me why you think this is just a bad policy, start to finish.
Start to finish, this is, as I said, a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad idea. It's not fair. We know that. It's not fair in the traditional sense of high-income people having their debt wiped away, as well as low-income people, those who can pay and those who can't. It's also not fair across different kinds of borrowers. I mean, the federal government makes lots of loans. There are farm loans, there are small business loans. Why the student loans? Why do they get off the hook? So there's some real fairness issues here. There's a second thing that bothers me a lot, which is we know that higher education needs some reforms. This doesn't do it. Getting rid of old debt doesn't change one thing.
In higher education.
No, it doesn't make higher education cheaper.
Yeah,
making it free won't make it cheaper. I mean, we're not going in the right direction with this.
There was this USA Today op-ed that caught my eye, written by Christian Barnard. It said, "I worked as a janitor to keep my student loans low. Wiping debt punishes students like me." There's also another one at CNN. It says, "I'm a 29-year-old with $235,000 in student debt. I'll never pay it back." And basically arguing that wages haven't gone up, the cost of education has gone up. But I wanted to ask you about one thing. I did hear from a mom, a friend of mine, and she said that one of the things that's really hurt her two children that have gone through college, they needed to get student loans in order to pay for them, is that the interest rate is so high that it's gobbling up their other income to try to keep up with the student loans. And it's like they're in a race where the guy behind them is faster.
The interest rates on student loans were set in the same law that created the Affordable Care Act. Back when they were passing Obamacare, they took over the federal student loan program and made it a direct lending program by the federal government.
Has that been a terrible
when they did that,
result?
That's been a bad idea in my view. It was done strictly out of expedience to pay for the Affordable Care Act. So how did they pay for it? Well, they take a 10-year Treasury rate and they add on 3, 4, 5 percentage points, depending on the loan, in additional interest costs. That brings money into the Treasury.
Doug, I don't think people.
But that's hard on
I don't think people remember that. I don't think people realize that one of the reasons we have this problem goes all the way back, and it actually has its roots in the Affordable Care Act.
Yes, this is now a piece of history, but it's an important piece of history, and I think someone who cares about the higher education system ought to look at that and rethink the student loan program, and also think about how to make colleges more efficient and compete for the students and do the things the rest of the economy does.
Well, so the Democrats, many of them are talking about free college, not all of them. Some are saying that that would not be appropriate. Right. Take a listen to Klobuchar and Warren. This is from last night.
My plan would be to, first of all, make community college free and make sure that everyone else besides that top percentile gets help with their education. Secondly, I'd use Pell Grants. I'd double them from $6,000 to $12,000 a year and expand it to the number of families that get covered, to families that make up to $100,000.
My family didn't have the money for a college application, much less a chance for me to go to college. But I got my chance. It was a $50 a semester commuter college. That was a little slice of government that created some opportunity for a girl, and it opened my life.
No doubt we'll hear more about it in the debate tonight. Let me ask you, though, for the Republican side of things, is this interest rate issue something that the Trump administration and Republicans in Congress could take on as a way to try to address the student loan problem?
I don't see why not. In years before the Affordable Care Act, the student loan program was a private lending program with government guarantees. And it was put on the federal books just for the expedience that I mentioned to get the Obamacare through. So I think it's time to go back and rethink the whole thing. And I think it's just important for everyone to understand it's not free. You take it and you put it on, instead of student debt, you've got federal debt. We're going to be borrowing this money, and someone's going to have to pay that bill.
All right. Well, Doug Holtz-Eakin, thanks for joining us today. Well, I'm sure we'll have you back. There's a lot to talk about.